Well, hello, welcome again to our reading of selections from Xenophon's Anabasis, Book 1, and we finished off at the end of, or the middle of section 9, and we'll continue on to the next part. So we finished off with Clearchus, who was an exile from Sparta, and Clearchus is going to play a major role, of course, in the story of the Anabasis. And the Xenophon says that Cyrus was quite admired him, and he gave to him in the last section 10,000 darics, which is quite a bit of money. And we continue on, Hode labon ton crucion stratuma sun elex en apatuton ton crematon kai epoleme ek keronesu horomenos tois Thraixi, tois hupa Hellesponton, oikusin, kai ophele tus Helenas. And he, that's referring of course to Clearchus, having taken the gold, the gold I should say, the tocrucion, these are the 10,000 darics. We've got this sul lego verb again, to collect, so he gathered together from these monies. Cremata just means a thing, and the plural cremata can mean money quite commonly. So from this money he gathered together an army, kai epoleme, imperfect from polemio, and so it's inceptive. With the imperfect you often translate it he began to make, rather than just was making, but it depends on the context. So here I think, and began to make war, setting out, this is from participle from hormao, to set forth. So setting out from the Chersonese, he made war with the Thracians, and in opposition to that, tois goes with the oikusin. This is a dative participle, from oikeo, it's an epsilon contract verb, and it goes with the tois. This is a dative plural participle. With those dwelling, so with those Thracians who dwelt, huper, above the Hellespont, so perhaps north of the Hellespont. Kai ophile, this is again imperfect from ophele. So he was assisting the Greeks. So he was making war with these Thracians and he was assisting the Greeks. Hosti, now we get hosti either with an infinitive or hosti with the, here we get the indicative because it actually took place, with the result that so because he was doing, he was helping the Greeks, with the result that they, that is the Greeks, now this is from sum balamai in the middle, and it means to throw things together with, or throw together with, and it's a word that comes to mean to contribute. If everyone throws in their bit, then they're all contributing, and that's what the word means here. So with the result that they were contributing, don't forget the kais, also money, auto for him, as ten trophen tone, stratio tone, high, helesopontiakai, poles acusais. Actually it's not, well it is the Greeks, but the subject of the verb is actually further on down here. So the cities that were on the Greek Hellespont, so the Greek city is on the Hellespont, hekusai, this is a participle agreeing with the feminine polis, so it's it's you normally, well sorry, it comes from a participle, but the word is hekon, which is itself a participle, but it's often taken as an adjective. You get hekon willing, and aekon or akon unwilling. So hekon willing, So the cities on the Hellespont willingly were contributing money also to him, Astan Trophan. Now trophe is a very vague word. It means sustenance. It's often can mean food. It can mean just the thing you give to your child to keep them alive and so on. In the context of war with soldiers here, it must mean something like maintenance. It's giving them food and lodgings and drink and so on to maintain the soldiers. So for the maintenance of the soldiers. So just putting that bit together. So he was assisting the Greeks with the result that the cities on the Hellespont willingly, they also were contributing money to him for the maintenance of the soldiers, the stratioton. Tuto dao huto trephomenon elanthanen auto to stratuma. Now the subject here has to be tot stratuma, which is right at the end. How do we tell that? Well, because it's going with the participle here, which is in the neuter, and so that has to be going with that, and we need a subject for the verb, and it's going to be that, I think, because we've got an indirect object here. So, the tutor also is neuter, and that must be going with the tot stratuma. So the tutor, the participle, and tot stratuma all going together. The our we've had before, and I think will turn up again in this passage here. It means again here. So the point is going to be made here that Cyrus is setting up all of these armies, but they're all secret. So it's this. So Huto, in this way, once again, this army was escaping notice, and this is passive here. We've had trophane up here, now we get trepho, which is the cognate verb, with the same sort of meaning. So was being maintained, auto, for him. So just to do that bit again, so in this way, once again, this army was escaping notice, being maintained for him, that is for Cyrus. Aristippos de ho thetalos xenos own etunkanen auto kai piedzomenos hupaton oiko antistasi tone erkatai proston kuron kai aite auton as dis kilius xenus kai trion menon misthon hos hutos perigenomenos antone antistasion tone. So Aristippus, or properly pronounced Aristippus, with the accent there, Aristippus, the Thessalian. Now we get participle from the verb to be, being xenos, being a friend. Oh, sorry, I've got etunkano. So he chanced being a friend to him, that is to Cyrus. So Aristippus, the Thessalian, happened to be, literally chanced being. Tunkano typically takes a participle, and it's imperfect here from tunkano. So he happened to be a guest friend to him. Kai piedzomenos, this is passive here. Piezdo is a verb meaning to press hard upon, and this is passive, so being pressed hard upon, being oppressed perhaps, being caused grief. Hupo, by, and we get tone, antistasioton. Stasis is a word used for political unrest, generally. Stasis is a political unrest. it comes from connected with histemi, of course, to stand up against somebody and hence cause political unrest. The anti has the sense of being an opponent. So the noun here is antistasiotes, first declension masculine, and this probably best to translate this as political opponents. So being hard pressed by his political opponents, oikoi. Now this one you've got to just be very careful of. This is not a nominative. It's an example of an old case called a locative. You'll see this from Homer onwards, both in poetry and prose. It's the oikos noun, and then we've got a little iota on the end, which is an old locative ending. It means at home. So be careful when you see oikoi. Can mean houses, could be nominative, but it's not here. It's at home. It's an old locative ending. So he, being hard pressed by his political opponents at home, erkatai, historic present, he comes pros ton kuron to Cyrus, another historic present, and he asks him, Ace, now Discilius Xenus. This is for 2,000 Xenus. Now Xenos has a range of meanings again. It means strangers or foreigners, guest friends. Here it's probably referring to foreign mercenaries. So he asks him for 2,000 mercenaries, kai and misthon. Now misthos is reward or pay, so he wants the pay, and then we get a genitive of time during which, for 3 months. So literally for 3 moons, but for 3 months. So he asks him for 2,000 mercenaries and pay for 3 months. Hos, hutos, perigononos, antone, antistasioton. Now we get hos plus a participle here, aorist participle. So it's almost like a purpose here, so that in this way, and it's with an. So we have to say he might, perhaps get the better of. Periginomai, it can often mean to survive, to be around, and hence to survive. Here it's probably get the better of, overcome. And peri's taking a genitive. So get the better of might be a good translation to get the genitive in. To get the better of his political enemies. So he asks for Cyrus for 2,000 mercenaries, 3 months' pay, so that in this way he might get the better of, so as surviving, getting the better of, with an, he might get the better of his military opponents. Hodekuros didosiauto ace. Oh, and I should have mentioned perhaps here this ace here. It means up to, so perhaps it's a way of saying roundabout. So he asks for about that number, so up to, as many as, and we're going to get it here again. So hodekuros didosiauto ace tetrakiskelius kai hex menon misthon kai de tai autu me prosthen catalusai prostus antistasiotas prin an auto sumbuiu setai. But Cyrus gives, historic present from Didomi, to him as many as, or up to, or round about, 4,000, understand Xenus. So he only asks for 2, and he gets given 4,000 mercenaries, and he asked for 3 months' pay, and Cyrus gives him 6 hex months' pay. So the pay for 6 months. And, of course, there's always strings attached. Detai, this is from deamai, takes a genitive. He asks of him. That's why it's genitive here. So we just say he asked him. He asks him, it's present tense. May not beforehand catalusai. This is an infinitive, aorist infinitive from cataluo. Katalua means to put an end to something, and it's often used in a military context to put an end to a war. And we have to supply, I think, ton polymon here. So not to put an end to the hostilities, perhaps, or put an end to the war against his political enemies. Prin an, before, and then we get a subjunctive, before he might take counsel with him, that is, with Cyrus. So he gives him, he doubles what he'd asked for, but he says, well, you can have all that, but he asked him not to end the hostilities against his political enemies until he had taken counsel with him. Huto de au to en thetalia elanthanen auto trefominon stratuma. So this is similar to the sentence we had before. In this way, yet again, the army in Thessaly was escaping notice, being maintained auto for him, that is, for Cyrus. Proxinon de ton boiotion xenon onta ecelius labonta andras hotiplestus paragenestai hos es pisidas bulominos stratuestai hos pragmata parekonton ton pisidon te hiatu kora. Now this is accusative, so you've got to look through until you find the main verb, which is here. So, and, I think for the de here, ekeliuse, he bid, and this must be the object, Proxenus, the Boeotian guest friend. Now this is an adjective, boiotios, from Boeotia. So his Boeotian guest friend, so the one being his Boeotian guest friend. So he bid him, labonta, having taken men, hoti plestus, hoti for hose, so as many as possible. That's just idiomatic there. Hoti plestus, having taken as many men as possible. Paragenesthai, to be present. This is the aorist infinitive from paraginomai, to be beside him, so hence to be present. Hos, we get another hos here, this time again with a participle. So it's something like since, it's as wishing. So hence, since he wished, stratuesthai, to make a campaign, as Pisidas, into Pisidia. Now Pisidia is a mountainous region down the south of where he is, I think. We get another hos, and this time, we've got this in the genitive here, so this looks like a genitive absolute. So we've got hos with a genitive absolute. So in the sense of since. Since the Pisidians, pareko is to provide. So literally, since the Pisidians are providing, it's a present participle, pragmata, well, troubles. It's connected, of course, with praso of action, so they were providing troubles in the land of himself, so in his own land. So since the Pisidians, we would say, were causing him grief in his own land, were giving him troubles in his own land. Sophinatos de ton stumphalion kai socraten ton akaion, xenus ontas kai tutus, ekelius andras labontes elthen hotiplestus, hos, polemeson tisapherne suntois fugasintois melesion, kai poien hutos hutoi. Now once again, when you look at the sentence here, you see these are all accusatives. So you've got to go right through accusatives, 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 get to the main verb, which is here. Now you have to do this in Greek. You've got to try and play jigsaw puzzles with the word order. So he bid, from Kaluo, he bid. Now who did he bid? He bid Sophonitis, the Stymphalian, from Stymphalia, and Socrates, the Achaean. Achaea simply refers, I think, at this stage back to the Peloponnesus, or part of the Peloponnesus. Xenus ontas, we get a Chi. So these men also being Xenus, guest friends, being friends. So he bid them, having taken men, now we get this haughty placetus again, as many as possible. So having taken as many men as possible, Elthane to come. And now again we've got hos plus a future participle from polemio. So with the intention of. It's literally as being about to make war. So with the intention of making war with Tissaphernes, this is dative here, along with tois fugasin. This is the dative plural from fugas, is a third declension noun, so this is the dative plural third declension from fugas. These are the exiles, are connected with fugo, to flee again. So along with the exiles, the ones, and this is genitive here, from among the Milesians. Remember in the earlier section, many of the Milesians had fled because of the fighting with Tissaphernes. And here it's as being about to make war with Tissaphernes, along with the exiles from among the Milesians. Kai epoien hutos hutoi, and they themselves were doing, or were acting hutos in this way. So in other words, this is exactly what they did. And that's the end of section 1 from the Book 1 of the Anabasis.